They say a mother's love is forever. But mine ended the night she buried me alive. My name is Evelyn Grace. And according to my family, I died 12 years ago. But tonight, as they sit in their cozy house pretending to be saints, they'll see my face. Alive. Breathing. Successful. On national television. Because the daughter they buried is coming back to haunt them. I wasn't born with a silver spoon. I was born with silence. The kind of silence that fills every corner of a house. Where love is supposed to live. But doesn't. My mother, Margaret Grace, was the kind of woman who cared more about her reputation than her own children. My father was her shadow. And my brother, Caleb, was her golden child. The son who could do no wrong. Me? I was the reminder of everything she hated. The mistake she never forgave herself for. I still remember the first time she told me I ruined her life. I was 6. She broke a plate during an argument with Dad. And blamed it on me. "You're just like your father," she hissed. Useless. And that word stuck to my skin for years. By 16, I learned that love in our home had rules. You had to earn it. And I was always one apology short. When Caleb got into law school, Mom threw a party. Cake, champagne, neighbors, everything. When I won first place in a regional art contest, she said, "That's nice, Evelyn, but real success pays bills." Every smile I offered her felt like begging for scraps. One night, I came home from my part-time job at a diner. It was 10:45 p.m. She was waiting, arms crossed, eyes cold. "Where were you?" "Working. You know I have the evening shift." She sneered. "No daughter of mine is going to smell like grease and sweat. You're an embarrassment." I wanted to scream. But instead, I whispered, "Maybe I should just leave." And she said, "Maybe you should." I think that's the night my heart quietly started dying. A few months later, I got a scholarship. Art school in New York. The dream I'd prayed for since I was 10. When I told her, she laughed, that cruel kind of laugh that sounds like knives. "Art? You think drawing pictures will feed you?" Dad didn't even look up from his paper. "And Caleb?" He smirked. "Yeah, Mom's right. You'll be back in a month, begging." That night, I packed a small bag. 3 shirts, a sketchbook, a photo of me and my grandmother. When I reached the door, Mom stood there, blocking the way. "If you walk out that door, Evelyn," she said quietly, "you're dead to me." I looked at her, really looked at her. And I realized something. She already saw me as dead. So I walked. Barefoot. Crying. But free. 3 months later. Fate laughed in my face. The bus I was on crashed into a truck on the highway. People died. Bodies burned. I woke up 3 weeks later in a hospital. Bandaged and unrecognizable. They told me I had no ID, no phone, no family contact. When I asked if anyone came looking for me, the nurse just shook her head. Then she showed me a newspaper clipping. Local teen, Evelyn Grace, presumed dead after tragic bus accident. My mother had identified one of the bodies. Said it was me. She didn't even come to verify in person. Just a phone call. A signature. And that was it. I wasn't missing. I was gone. Dead. Buried. Erased. So I stayed dead. I took a new name, Eva Monroe. Moved to a new city with nothing but hospital clothes and a sketchbook. I cleaned tables in cafes. Painted at night. Ate noodles for dinner for months. But I wasn't sad. For the first time, I had peace. No expectations. No judgment. No mother waiting to humiliate me. And every brushstroke I made on a blank canvas felt like breathing again. I painted my pain, my silence, my rebirth. People started noticing my art. Then galleries did. Then one day, a painting sold for $4,000. It felt unreal. To be worth something. Years passed. My work got bigger. My name, Eva Monroe, started appearing in art magazines. The girl who paints rebirth. The survivor artist. At 27, I owned a small studio in Manhattan. My paintings hung in museums. People wore my story on bracelets. Tattooed my quotes on their skin. The world saw me as a miracle. They didn't know I was a ghost. Then came the call that would change everything again. A national news show wanted to feature me. A live TV interview about artists who inspire. They wanted to talk about my past, my recovery, my rise. Something in me clicked. Because this time, I wanted the world to know what surviving really looked like. Lights. Cameras. The host smiled. Eva, your story has touched millions. But one thing people wonder. What happened to your family? I smiled. They think I'm dead. The room went silent. Dead? Yes. I leaned closer to the mic. They buried me. But I didn't stay buried. That moment. Across the country. In a quiet living room filled with lies. Margaret Grace dropped her glass. Wine spilled across the table. My father stared at the screen. Caleb whispered. Mom, that's Evelyn. And I smiled. On live television. As the world gasped. The dead daughter was alive. And she was shining. That night. I didn't just tell my story. I reclaimed my name. My truth. And I promised myself. I'll never hide again. But what I didn't know was that my family wasn't done with me yet. Because the people who bury you alive don't like it when you rise. They say revenge is a poison. But mine? It tasted like peace. Because sometimes, to heal, you have to burn what hurt you. That TV interview changed everything. Overnight, my phone exploded. Calls from galleries, talk shows, brand deals. And somewhere in the middle of all that noise, came a text from an unknown number. Evelyn, it's Mom. For a second, I couldn't breathe. 12 years of silence. And that one name made my hands tremble. Please call me. We need to talk. No apology. No emotion. Just that. For hours, I stared at the screen. I should have deleted it. Ignored it. Moved on. But the truth? Closure doesn't come from silence. Sometimes it comes from looking the devil in the eyes one last time. So I replied. Tomorrow. Noon. At my studio. The next day, I stood in front of my gallery. A place filled with everything they said I'd never become. Paintings of rebirth. Photos of hope. Walls lined with the kind of beauty that grew out of pain. At exactly noon, a black car stopped outside. And when she stepped out, for a second, I didn't recognize her. Margaret Grace. My mother. Older. Thinner. Still wearing the same perfection mask she hid behind all her life. Caleb followed behind. Expensive watch, nervous smile. My father stayed in the car. Of course he did. She looked around the studio, her eyes wide. This is beautiful, she said. Her voice shook, not with guilt, but calculation. I didn't move. Didn't hug. Didn't speak. She continued. I saw you on television. I couldn't believe it. I thought, you were gone. I tilted my head. You made sure of that. She froze. I didn't, I was told they found your body. I identified it. Over a phone call, I interrupted. No hospital visit. No photo. You didn't even check. She blinked fast. Tears, fake, rehearsed. I was devastated. No, Mom, I said softly. You were relieved. Her lips parted. But I didn't let her speak. You got to play the grieving mother. The poor woman whose daughter died tragically. People pitied you, didn't they? Her silence told me everything. Caleb stepped in. Evelyn, we were young. Mom made mistakes, we all did. But we're family. I laughed. The sound echoed against the studio walls. Family? I walked toward him slowly. Family doesn't bury you alive. Family doesn't watch you starve. Family doesn't sell your life for sympathy. He tried to touch my arm. I pulled away. Mom's mask cracked. You think you're better than us now? Because you got lucky? Lucky? I said. I built myself from ashes you created. She snapped. Her voice rose, sharp and venomous. You embarrassed us on television. Everyone in town is talking. Do you know how humiliating this is for me? And there it was, the real her. The woman who never cared about me. Only about her image. Humiliating? I repeated softly. Mom, I died. And you're worried about your reputation? Her face flushed red. I gave you life. No, I said. You gave me pain. Life, I built that on my own. In that moment, I realized something powerful. I wasn't angry anymore. Not even hurt. I just felt done. The version of me that begged for love was gone. But still, I wanted them to see. To face what they did. So I walked them through the studio. Each painting had a story. This one, I said, pointing to a crimson swirl, is called The Daughter You Buried. They stared at it. A figure standing alone under a storm. Light breaking through her chest. Mom whispered, it's haunting. It's truth, I replied. Then I showed her the biggest one. A massive canvas of fire and water colliding. It was titled, Rebirth. I looked straight at her. I painted this the night I saw your obituary for me. Her mouth opened, but no words came. Why are you really here, Mom? I asked. Her eyes darted to Caleb. He looked down. Then she finally said it. Your father's company is collapsing. The house is mortgaged. We need help. There it was. The real reason. Not love. Not regret. Money. I smiled faintly. Help? She nodded. You have so much now. You could fix everything. Family looks out for each other. Family? I repeated, calm. Where was family when I was in a hospital alone? When I was starving in a shelter? She didn't answer. 12 years ago, they erased me for convenience. Now they wanted me for survival. Poetic, isn't it? But my revenge wasn't about shouting or lawsuits. It was about truth. And timing. I pulled out a folder from my desk. Inside, copies of the newspaper article where she declared me dead. Hospital records. Legal papers showing the false death claim she filed for insurance. I dropped them on the table. Her face turned pale. What is this? Proof, I said. That you committed fraud. That you lied to everyone, to get sympathy money. She stumbled back. Evelyn, please. No, I said quietly. This isn't revenge. This is justice. A week later, I held a charity event. Art for Hope, broadcast live across the city. Reporters came. Cameras flashed. The world watched Eva Monroe, the artist of rebirth. What they didn't know was that the special guests arriving were the same family who buried her. I had invited them personally. Mom thought it was reconciliation. It wasn't. When I walked onto the stage, I began my speech. I was told once that grief brings people closer. But sometimes, grief is just another name for guilt. I paused. People leaned in. Cameras rolled. I was declared dead 12 years ago. By my own family. Gasps echoed. Mom froze in the audience. I continued. They took my pain and turned it into pity. They sold my death for sympathy. But here I am, alive. And I forgive them. Not because they deserve it. But because I deserve peace. The crowd erupted. Reporters swarmed. Flashes everywhere. Mom tried to leave. But every camera turned toward her. The world finally saw the truth. That night, their empire crumbled. The fraud case went public. The sympathy fund revoked. Their perfect image, gone. And me? I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. I just exhaled. Because finally, the weight was gone. Months passed. Their house was sold. Their names faded from headlines. And mine grew brighter. I wasn't angry. I wasn't proud. Just free. Sometimes revenge doesn't look like fire. It looks like peace. Like waking up without fear. Like breathing without guilt. One afternoon, I got a letter. Handwritten. No return address. It read, Evelyn. I was wrong. I was cruel. And now I'm alone. I don't expect forgiveness. But I hope you found happiness. Mom. I stared at the paper. No tears came. Just quiet understanding. Because in the end, some people never change. But you do. And that's the real revenge. They buried me once. But I grew roots underground. And when I rose, I didn't rise for them. I rose for me. The world knows me as Eva Monroe. But I'll always remember Evelyn Grace. The girl they tried to erase. And every time my art hangs in a museum, I whisper to her. You made it. You survived. Because the best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's becoming someone they can never reach.